Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show for the Intrepid radio program tonight. It's been a long day. A lot of stuff going on. Hey, everybody that's there. Steve Clark, good to see you. Matthew Sainsbury, Grumpy Stack. Hola, he says. And Remelian is here. And good to see you all filing in tonight. Glad to have you. I just got off of... spent the afternoon painting ceilings down here, not out here, but over in the studio. And I'm painting all the ceilings, all the rafters in the basement, doing them flat black, everything, all the tin ducts and everything that's up there, solid flat black. Then we're going to mount some theatrical lights up there for the radio show. Dave's got a bunch of theatrical lights that he's going to bring over. So that's pretty cool. Hey, Matt Finn, good to see you. And Barbie D, I should say Master Finn, Master and Commander. Let's see. I'm going to start the stream right now, which I have to do. That puts us on with the radio. I can skip that for now. Audio is set right. Soundboard's on. I'm not muted. So, Roger Rabbit, good to see you, brother. Don't get to see much of you these days, just snippets. And so it's good to see you. Let's see. Who else is in here? Nobody else knew yet. So we got about, 2 minutes. A little less than 2.5 minutes before we go live. Hey, Arlene Gantz. I always want to say Getz. I don't know why. Even though I read it right. Gantz. Arlene Gantz. Good to see you, Arlene. Glad you're here. Sticky note with turn mic and directly below the screen, says Roger Rabbit. I've done that. I forget to look at the sticky note. Doesn't work. That stuff doesn't work. Any of you have any weird beliefs? It's kind of struck me today. I read an article and I said, it's kind of a play off of Michael Shermer's book. Why do good people believe weird things? And of course, he comes from a skeptical and an atheistic point of view, but he's even changed some of his thinking since then. So it's interesting. I don't know how far he's changed his views. I think he's still a skeptic. But I know his views on the paranormal have changed a little bit due to what? Personal experience, anecdotal experience. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit tonight. Belief versus faith, says Romeldian. Yeah, those are two different things. Two different things, but they kind of go hand in hand. We used to say science versus belief. Micah Hanks and I were going to write a book about that once. We had a great title for it, and I can't even remember what it was about, but it was something like that. Hey, Uncle Dave Potter, good to see you. We've got half a minute before we go live. Stealing people's lives. If you remember where that line is from Zorro. So it's coming up. So I'm going to go dark. We're going to go dark, and we'll be back with the intro of the show in a few seconds. Stand by. Don't go away.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with two T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the program. Happy Wednesday evening. This is your host, Scotty Roberts, of this my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Odyssey Radio. And I want to welcome you all to the show tonight. You can listen over on the radio station, or you can come over to the YouTube channel and join the fellow Intrepids and join the chat room that's live and going on right now, and meet the Intrepid family. You can also see the video simulcast in 3 different places on Facebook: my page, Odyssey Radio page, and Intrepid Radio page. So come on over any way you want to come over and join us tonight. Well, you know, if you're hearing me say that, you've already joined us. So if you're listening audibly, come over and join the chat room as well. And you can follow along that way. It's a lot of fun. And these people won't let you down. They never let me down. And every time I forget to port up my mic, they let me know. They're calling me on the phone. I have some of them. Elderberry, is Elderberry in the room by any chance? Elderberry will call me on Sunday mornings early to let me know. He's like my rooster crow to let me know, you got a show today at 9. Just want to make sure you're awake and having coffee. So a good bunch of people over here. And so come and join the Intrepid family. By the way, if you're on my YouTube site and you have not, subscribe. Just hit the little subscribe button. When that pops up, a little bell will show. You click that as well. That'll send you notifications of whenever this show is broadcasting via that channel. And also like tonight's show. Give it a hearty, perspicacious thumbs up because it helps my algorithms over there. And, you know, got to ask, it's my show. And so do that. And if you're not joined as a member of the channel, you can do that as well. Click the little join button. It'll show you how, and it'll tell you some things I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not doing very often. And so, but come and check it out. And I hope you enjoy tonight's show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And, you know, we've come off a couple of days of some very a heartfelt but serious topic. And I thought, we've got to lighten things up just a little bit. Let's not go back into something so heavy duty tonight. So let's, I thought, weird things, weird places, weird experiences, weird conspiracy theories. These are all things we think about. We've all got them. We've all got weird stuff we believe. But why do we believe those things? That's a great question. And I will tell you about something I saw. A friend of mine, I was reminded of this because I was sent a screenshot of this a while back, maybe a year or more ago. And it was a screenshot of people I knew, not personal friends, but people I knew out at the festival, and those people. And some of them were people I thought were friends, a couple of them. But somebody was saying, you should avoid Scotty Roberts because he's a creepy man. And it was a guy saying this, by the way, creepy man or something. And he's a bad person. And he has all these, he's got some show about conspiracy theories. And so I don't think this show is about conspiracy theories. But I found it interesting, by the way, that there were some people in that screenshot that was sent to me by a friend that people that I knew and I had no idea. They were like, yeah, thanks for the reminder about this guy. These people are personal friends of mine. And so you never know what people are going to say behind your back. There is, you think you talk behind somebody's back sometimes? Oh, I got to tell you what, so-and-so, what's going on? Just remember, everybody talks about everybody. And even people you think you know, they talk about you behind your back. And they don't talk to you. They don't talk with you. They talk about you. So there it is. Because we's wacky, says Dave. Yeah, that might be something about that. Never trust those who slander others. I don't either, Macabre. Good to see you, by the way, over in the chat room. And Sarah Yusuf. And Roger Rabbit and Arlene and Matthew and David and Beth and Steve and James Palmer. Jimmy Palmer is here. Good to see you, James Palmer. Movie producer, television producer, director par excellence. And he's gotten me. He's been instrumental in me getting some gigs over the last few years. And I've known James for quite a while, since Ghost Hunters days when I worked for them. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Nice to have you. So, weird things. We all have them. We all believe weird things. We all have weird things that sometimes maybe govern the way we think religiously, spiritually. Can you say, I look at Michael Shermer. Well, we'll get to him in a second. Let me just put it to you this way. I'm fascinated by all the weird beliefs that other people have. I'm not so weirded out by my own weird beliefs and things. I think my beliefs and things are pretty common or pretty on the spot. I've always considered myself a fairly pragmatic kind of guy. You've heard me say it before, if you've listened to this show very long, that if I can't see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, talk to it, wrestle with it in the mud, take a shower afterwards with it sometimes, then it's really tough for me to put my belief in something, which would seem very strange and very weird to some people because I spent the first half of my life in ministry. I went to seminary. I went to Bible college, not in that order. And I was in youth ministry, and I believed certain things. And as you all know, I've stepped away from a lot of those things. And so I've adopted this thing that I've got to see it to believe it type of a thing. And so I'm fascinated by all the weird beliefs that are floating around out there. Maybe you would look at me and say, some of your beliefs are pretty weird too. And where do they come from? Where do these weird beliefs come from? Why do we have them? And what can we do about them? Should we do something about them? You have weird beliefs of many different things. I'm certain of that. Certain every one of you listening to the show has some weird whack thing that you believe in. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily spiritual beliefs, although it can include that. Maybe the belief that, step on a crack, break your mother's back, those superstitious types of beliefs. Maybe you have some of that. Do you have weird beliefs? What do I have weird beliefs? Why do I even have them? I ask myself. Because even though I don't think I do. So I want to begin with a couple of examples of weird beliefs. And these are kind of, for me, standout believers in things that I've actually known. There was an aerospace, we'll call him an engineer, an aerospace engineer who believed that he could get enough sustenance to skip several meals a day merely by absorbing bacteria through his skin. And so he routinely skipped meals. I'm not giving you the results of that, just what he believed. I don't have to eat meals today, and I don't have to eat meals regularly. You know why? Because I can merely absorb bacteria through my skin. And I'll sleep on this, I don't know, moldy bread. I don't know what he did. But that was his belief. And so he skipped a lot of meals because of that. I thought that's kind of weird. That's kind of a weird belief, dude. Okay, but more power to you, okay? How about I had somebody I knew that was a geologist, worked for a university, and he believed that the earth was created about 6,000 years ago, and that the Grand Canyon formed in a month from runoff from the biblical flood. Now, that was his belief. Now, you would say that falls into that category of spiritual belief. The same guy was a paleontologist as well. And he believed that the dinosaurs only happened they roamed the earth 6,000 years ago. Now, to me, that's a strange, a weird, a wacky belief, especially since we know there are civilizations we have found that date back 11 and 12,000 years ago. Some almost 20,000 years ago. So how do we explain his belief? He doesn't need to know anything else. I remember sitting and talking to him, and I've told you all about this fellow before. We were sitting over dinner. We were actually working on Jimmy, it wasn't one of your projects, Jimmy Palmer. Maybe you got me involved in this. It was about 10 years ago. Went down to Texas, and we were filming in the red fields and the Pleistocene era. Is that right? And looking for giants. I don't remember how my name got before these people, but we were filming what you might call a sizzle reel. And one of the guys was this old paleontologist, long white beard. And he believed that, the earth is only about 6,000 years old. And I said, well, how do you come to that conclusion? Well, because the Bible says, and I said, can you give me an answer I said, how can you put your faith in something where the only answer is within that faith's book of faith? Give me something outside of that. I've told you all that story before. So that to me is a weird belief. And it's a belief. So I don't think I say it's a weird fact. It's a weird belief. Especially since science, and I don't think science is the end all and be all. Sometimes you got to kick out the props from science because they get a little too puffy. But when you can date settlements and villages and artifacts, Göbekli Tepe dates back 12,000 years. Where do the dinosaurs fit into that? 6,000-year calendar doesn't fit there. Anyway, I'm going off on just one. Third one, a physicist working at one of our nation's major laboratories believes that space aliens visited Earth millennia ago and gave us some of their technology. Now, I happen to believe that there might be something to that without going into why I believe that in this show. But people would look at him and say, that's a weird belief. You're kind of whack. So here you are. You're a physicist. You're working in a major lab, and yet you believe that space aliens, and when you put it that way, you use those words too, space aliens. You can't just say extraterrestrials or folk from another planet or dimension. So it does sound kind of weird when you put it certain ways. And that they gave us their technology. That's an interesting thing. Some of that I think might not be far off the mark, but you might listen to me say that and go, that's a really weird thing to believe. There's a philosopher at a prestigious university who believed that psychic surgery was real, and who also believed that Shakespeare's plays were written by someone else. Christopher Marlowe was his candidate, not the Duke of Oxford or the Earl of Oxford. So I happen to believe both of those are kind of strange beliefs. Psychic surgery. When I had my heart attack, I was very thankful there was a doctor there with a scalpel and a rib stretcher or splitter or whatever they used to get at my heart and fix it. Psychic surgery? I'm glad I wasn't in a psychic surgeon's office. Just telling you so. We can say we believe in things. Would you go under the knife or under the psychic knife if you had the option to, say, fix your ruptured appendix? There it is. Appendices. So Marlowe was a prat, says David. Marlowe, he was a prat. He got stabbed in the eyeball. Served him right. So I happen to believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. If you want to see a good movie, see Dave Potter. What's the one with oh, for crap. I was going to swear and I can't. Oh, for blank's sake. Branagh. Branagh played Shakespeare. The movie was a one-word movie like why or when or where or what or something. It was something like that. But look that up. That is an excellent movie. It's the movie of Shakespeare after he retired, left the Globe Theater, and went home to Stratford-upon-Avon in his late 50s. Not Shakespeare in Love. That would be the other end of the story. That was a good movie, by the way, Shakespeare in Love. But there's a new one. Look up at Kenneth Branagh as Shakespeare, and you'll get the movie. Judith Dench played Anne Hathaway, the aged Anne Hathaway. Not Shakespeare in Love, Sarah. You guys look it up. Fantastic movie to watch. Dave, you need to see that. So there you go. I believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. I believe that's a weird belief to think that he didn't. Somebody look up the name of that movie for me, please, because now it's eating at me. Came out last year or the year before. Man, does he look Shakespeare, that Kenneth Branagh. All right. There's a computer scientist that's working for a defense and intelligence contractor who believed that President Kennedy was assassinated due to the work of a large conspiracy. That might be true. But some people look at that and go, that's whack. That is weird. That is a weird belief. Shakespeare is the man of the millennium. I think so. Hey, Rudy Kessler over in the chat room. Okay, because nobody else is doing it, I'm going to look up Kenneth Branagh, A-U-G-H, as Shakespeare. It is in the movie, it's not a one word, it's three words. All is True, it's called. All is True. You're going to have to look that movie up. You're going to have to watch it. You're going to have to look at pictures of Branagh as the Shakespeare pushing 60. He looks pretty much the part. And I think you'll enjoy that. VP Johnson had him whacked. He might have. Didn't VP Johnson have a nice a little, what do you call those? A eulogy for Shakespeare. Worth looking into. Well, of course, it has been looked into. It's an interesting topic to look at, by the way, whether you believe he was or wasn't the writer of his own works. So what are some more weird beliefs? There's the JFK assassination. Could have been, I tend to believe it was more than the work of one person. There's a university philosopher who believed that the destruction of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center on September 11th of 2001 was the work of a large conspiracy involving the U.S. government, principally President Bush and Vice President Cheney. Don't like him, don't like Bush, but I don't think they're that evil. So I think that's a weird belief, but people believe that. There's a well-known philosopher who believes that no human or animal is conscious, that we have no consciousness. To me, that's just dumb. It's not even weird, it's dumb. But you know what? He's made a name for himself and makes good money. There's a well-known philosopher and logician who believes that some contradictions are both true and false at the same time. Can they be? That's a good question. Maybe he's right. But some people would think that's a weird thing. Trump supporters. There are people that have a lot of weird things that they believe about Trump supporters. Human belief and black swans go hand in hand. And some people think that Trump was a black swan, what they call. Utterly predictable, but understandable in retrospect. So the unpredictability of the rise of Trump depends on a special way on the beliefs of those who support him. One can make a calm case for supporting Trump. That's exercise left for the reader. But to many non-Trump people, supporting Trump for president seemed starkly irrational in one way or another, and supporting him now is being used as a tool by the other side because they believe weird things about him, or at least are promoting weird things about him to get people to believe weird things about him. So, who's right and who's wrong there? I think it's a weird belief either way. Believing that the current president is cognitive and supporting him anyway is a weird belief. We drive by many times out here in the country. Big ranch or big farm out there, really nice. It looks very expensive. And there's a big sign out there, a huge sign, like an 8-foot sign in their front yard. That's Veterans for Biden. To me, that's a really weird thing for a veteran to put in his front yard. But it's a weird belief. Then, of course, there's religion. Religion is an example of a weird belief. Statistically, maybe. Most humans are religious, and hence religion plays this enormous role in human behavior in society. So why with religion would we, or with religion, we have a weird belief playing an enormous role in human life, and hence in the lives of everything else on the planet? That's the belief system. I'm not degrading that belief at all. I'm not even saying it's wrong. I'm saying there's a lot of people that think it's weird to have that belief. I happen to believe that it's weird to be a religious person and believe in the Holy Spirit and life after death and all of this, and deny the presence of spirits and ghosts that are outside biblical context. And so that's a bunch of weird beliefs, I think. You could probably, in the chat room over here, cite all kinds of weird things that you know, or that you think, or that you think other people think. Romeldian said people believe that shadow government came into full power after George Washington left office. Why not during the time George Washington was in office? I don't know. I think there is a shadow government. That's a weird thing to some people. Some Trump supporters became fanatical too, said Matthew Sainsbury. Yeah, everybody's a fanatic when you're an extremist. Biden supporters are fanatical. Anti-Trump people are fanatics. They're weird. I think they believe weird things about Donald Trump, mostly because you can explain that one though. It fits their politics. You can't support your party and not believe weird things about Donald Trump. That's my take on it. So, what's a definition of weird beliefs, do you think? I mentioned Michael Shermer. You know who Michael Shermer is? He's the head of the American Skeptic Society. I don't even know the group he's actually affiliated with. Michael Shermer. I could have looked this up ahead of time. Just to be factual. He's he's the founding publisher of Skeptic Magazine. He's the host of the podcast, The Michael Shermer Show, and he's a presidential fellow at Chapman University, where he teaches skepticism. And for 18 years, he was a monthly columnist for Scientific American. He writes a weekly Substack column. He's the author of New York Times bestsellers, Why People Believe Weird Things, and The Believing Brain, and Why Darwin Matters, and The Science of Good and Evil, and The Moral Arc, and Heavens on Earth, and Giving the Devil His Due. These are all bestsellers of his. And and Reflections of a Scientific Humanist. You can look him up on Twitter. You can see things about him. So he's been out there for quite a while, and he's one of those people that I've always said, he's not just a skeptic, he's a denialist. Because he's one of the skeptics that would say, no, it isn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't work that way. Prove that to me. And, you know, somebody stupid might say, well, prove to me that what I just said isn't true. You know, and it doesn't work that way. Remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And he stands for that. I think he's a good man. I think he's a skeptic, though. But he also had an experience, if you remember, 3-4 years ago, after his father died, that led him to believe that there was something paranormal going on. And he wrote an article about it and said, this kind of changed my mind in a ways. Now, he hasn't become a, flaming believer in everything weird. He just said one of these things, he says, all a skeptic does is wants to have proof. And he was given some supernatural proof. And for him, I think that was all he needed. So, so that's Michael Shermer. That's who he is, by the way, as I'm talking about him. Michael Shermer, in his book, Why People Believe Weird Things, defines a weird belief as a belief that is, one, unaccepted by most people in the scientific field that studies the topic of that belief. Other words, astronomy, biology, things like that. People have weird beliefs about astronomy and about biology, about geology, where there's an established science in those things. That's a weird belief if you step outside the science. Number two, a weird belief is a claim that it's impossible or highly unlikely, and or a claim for which evidence is anecdotal. The evidence being anecdotal. What's an example of anecdotal evidence? We've all heard about it, especially those of you involved in the paranormal. What's anecdotal evidence? Michael Shermer himself, in talking to someone else, might say his experience with his father's, after his father's death, is something that to him was a real thing that happened. But he tells that story. He has no proof that it ever happened. And if it weren't for his credibility, some people would say, that's whack and you're whack. they would look at his experience and say, that's anecdotal. That's your experience. That doesn't prove what happened to anybody else. It doesn't prove the paranormal exists, doesn't prove the presence of your father's ghost or spirit was there. What it proves to me, by you telling me that story, is that you claim to have had an experience. That's anecdotal. So, what's another reason to move to Texas, Uncle Dave? What are you talking about? I just saw that Rudy Kessler said, Dave Potter, it's illegal to carry a sword. Or it's legal to carry a sword here in Texas. There you go. Yes. Good reason to be in Texas. So, is dueling allowed in Texas? I'm just curious. Wouldn't that be cool if dueling was still around? Unless somebody challenged me to a duel and I lost. Other than that, it's cool. So, weird beliefs. Let's get back to this. So, as is clear from Shermer's book, Shermer thinks that most weird beliefs are false beliefs. But his definition doesn't capture this. Rather, his definition gives properties of those beliefs that we call weird, properties often associated with the beliefs being false. And of course, like most definitions of natural phenomena, Shermer's is both too broad and too narrow at the same time. Can God open and shut a door at the same time? That's what came to my mind. No, not according to the laws of physics, he couldn't. God would have to break the laws of physics in order to do that. I mean, physically, can a door open and shut at the same time? No, it would break the laws of physics. So Shermer's a bit broad and a bit too narrow on some things, though it's still useful. Now, in 1916, Einstein's general theory of relativity was a weird belief. It satisfied one and two, and there was no evidence for it, anecdotal or otherwise, his theory of relativity. That smoking is harmful was a weird belief in the early to mid 20th century. Doctors would have you in their office and they'd light up a cigarette while they're consulting with you. The late 50s, the early 60s. And there was only anecdotal evidence for it. The science concerning it didn't really exist. It was being ignored or suppressed for various reasons. And the cigarette manufacturers, the experts, denied smoking was harmful at all. Yet space-time is curved by mass, and smoking can be very bad for you. So Shermer's definition categorizes some beliefs as weird that are not all false. But presumably then, they're not all that weird then, are they? They just appear weird to us. At least not now. But arguably, that matter curves space-time is still somewhat weird. This is accommodated in the new definition I have for you here. And I'll get to that in just a second. So that's how Shermer's description of what is a weird belief is a little too broad. And by the way, can you bend space? Warp speed in Star Trek. It's bending space. So Shermer's definition is also too narrow. There's a significant number of logicians who take paraconsistent logic seriously. And a logic is paraconsistent if it allows some contradictions to be true as well as false. So within the field of non-classical logic, paraconsistent logics can be accepted and be acceptable. They're neither impossible nor highly unlikely. And the evidence for them is robust and public. You can even call them paradoxes at times. Yet paraconsistent logics remain weird for all of that. I'll bet when you hear a logic is paraconsistent, if it allows some contradictions to be true as well as false, your eyebrows may have gone up. Or 1. Fascinating. But like I said, all definitions of natural phenomena fall short some way. And Shermer's definition is no different. And of course, Shermer, I don't want to say he's just out there touting books, which is the criticism all the people on the weird get when they write a book. I got that. When I wrote about the Nephilim, you obviously don't believe in this bullshit. You're just out to make a buck. I said, well, no, I was actually out to write a book and have fun with it. And now there's a new definition I think we can look at for what is a weird belief. Now listen to this. If you think that you have weird beliefs, or you know of weird beliefs, or people who have weird beliefs, listen to this definition. And by the way, I think a lot of you in our chat room, you've all got weird beliefs, if I didn't say that already. But you all know that about me too. But you're still here. Doesn't mean anything. So, spaghetti? Pasghetti, says Grumpy Stack. That just stood out because it was in all caps. Yes, Matthew Sainsbury, that's what my book is about. The Nephilim, the ones who came down. So, yeah, Romeldi, and that's true. There would be a lot of bleeding family members as well if dueling was legal. So, here, let's move into this. I'm dubious that any belief is objectively weird. Now, note, this doesn't commit me to the claim that no belief is objectively true or false. But let's define a weird belief as a belief someone has that violates a norm. That's how I see weird beliefs. It violates the norm. The norm thus violated comes from many different sources. And one type of norm is set socially. Another might be culturally, like the belief that all technology beyond that of a horse and buggy is evil or wrong, is weird relative to modern technology and culture. There's some people who believe that. That's a cultural belief. Excuse me. I need a drink of water. My nostrils are full of paint. I wore a mask today, but not for anti-COVID or disease. Wore a mask for spray painting flat black paint on the ceiling in my office. It's the rafters, all the wooden rafters down here. He's spray painted the whole thing solid flat black. And Dave's going to bring over movie lights. We're going to hang up studio lights up there. Anyway, moving on. Blew a lot of black out of my nose when I took a shower about an hour ago. So just thought you'd want to know that. So more interestingly, a person's vast store of beliefs, their belief system, all these potential beliefs fix or set a norm for other beliefs that might be added to a person's belief store. Storage unit, you could say. Imagine that your beliefs are represented in this vast web or network of nodes and arcs, and the nodes are the beliefs. Snow is cold. That's a belief. That's also a fact. Snow is water and snow is ice. Connected by arcs of inference or explanation. Snow is cold because snow is water or ice. Then a weird belief is a belief that doesn't fit in comfortably in this network. But the uncomfortable fit is only relative to some other person interacting with the first, not to the person whose network it is. Follow that? Here's how this works. Suppose you have a male friend named Smith. In every case in which you've interacted with Smith, he seems sensible, just like you, and very much in line with your beliefs and the other ordinary beliefs of the culture you and he share. But suppose that one day Smith surprises you by stating that his belief that President Bush and Vice President Cheney are responsible for the September 11th attacks. And if this is not a weird belief for you, pick one that is and plug it in there and assume Smith has it. You're shocked. I can't believe you would believe that. In Smith's head, something like this is going on. The September 11th attacks were horrible and diabolical, that the attacks were carried out by some barely trained, lucky airplane hijackers seems incredible, nay, preposterous. And the problem then is the contrast between the profound horribleness of the attacks and the all but inept humbleness of the perpetrators. So another explanation must be found. Aha! One that more emotionally satisfies my politics. Bingo! Bush and Cheney did it. They're powerful. They're sophisticated. They control the world's largest and most lethal military. They're in command of vast reserves of money and technology. They did it. Boom, bada boom, bada zing. That's the weird belief. So here we have a network of, well, what's relative to you, non-weird beliefs of a mostly normal, relative to you, everyday human Smith, but which includes the weird belief about the September 11th attacks. He's otherwise not a weird guy, and you're like, whoa, dude, you just blew my socks off with your weird belief. And this belief of Smith's is attached to his network by an arc representing how much more emotionally satisfying it is to blame strong, powerful, sophisticated people rather than a raging group of terrorists. Finally, to Smith, his belief about September 11th attacks is not weird to Smith. But, and this is the key, relative to you, Smith's belief is weird. Just as you have cognitive maps of all the parts of your environment, you also have theories of mind of all those you interact with, even somewhat infrequently. And for a good introductory explanation of what a theory of mind is, you can see there's a book by Premack D. Woodruff. Does the chimpanzee have a theory of mind? Behavioral and brain sciences. There you go. Theory of mind. So these theories of mind allow you to interact, predict, understand, interact productively with others that you encounter. And we start to have these robust theories of mind. At about, how old do you think that starts for us? Right around 4. We start having these robust theories of mind. We use our theories of mind of others. We attribute beliefs, hopes, desires, knowledge, emotions, and other complex mental states to people that we interact with. The ability to form theories of mind is innate in us. It's part of how we are made up. It's in all humans. In fact, it appears to be innate in all mammals and possibly all vertebrates and beyond. And so the evidence both for and against this is controversial on all sides. So you have information pro and con that are both contradictory to each other and go along with each other. It's a paradox. So your theory of Smith and his mind contains a small model of some part of his network of beliefs. So using your theory of Smith's mind, you predict that he thinks radical Muslim terrorists are responsible for the September 11th attacks. Surprise! He thinks President Bush and Vice President Cheney did it. So relative to you, his September 11th belief is weird. Relative to you. All right? See how that works? It's how we perceive things. It is what is relative to us. It's our mind model. I want to go through a few things, but here's some advantages of this definition. Number 1, it allows us to see perhaps where weird beliefs come from. Now, this is complicated, so stick with me. It's a bit of a brain tease. But briefly, it's plausible that all people have beliefs attached to their belief networks only by emotionally satisfying arcs. And it's plausible that these emotionally satisfying arcs are crucial to the healthy existence of all belief networks. Get that? Our weirdness in believing something comes from our emotionally satisfying arc. It pleases our emotions somehow. And hence, we're satisfied with that. Then after the belief is attached via the emotionally satisfying arc, the person's inference and explanatory mechanisms find ways to justify rationally after the fact the merely emotional satisfying belief. Shermer has an entire chapter on a version of this idea in his book. It's worth reading. We've got about 5 minutes left. The weirdness of a belief, number 2, is separated from its truth or falsity. Plenty of beliefs are weird, norm violators, without being false. The belief that the existence of true contradictions or the inherent badness of cell phones and of other modern devices. Amish beliefs are not obviously false. But do they have weird beliefs? Yeah. 3, all weird beliefs seem to be indexed to the person's community holding them, the person or the community holding them. This property is well captured by norm violation, for norms are themselves relative to some index of weirdness. 4, the norm violation view allows us to explain that from a first-person perspective, weird beliefs are almost non-existent. As I noted, my beliefs are not weird, yours are, and vice versa. From a first-person perspective, the norms we follow make perfect sense, and any violations are explained away by invoking what seem to us perfectly acceptable reasons. When we were talking about Smith's emotional reasons for believing that Bush and Cheney are responsible for September 11th, I pulled a Biden there, September 11th, pardon me if you support Biden. I think that's a weird belief to have, but there you go. If you believe Bush and Cheney are responsible for September 11th, that can be turned into an argument justifying Smith's belief in this. I gave the skeleton of that argument when I pointed out that September 11th attacks were too sophisticated and diabolical, seeming for mere terrorists. That's the chemistry that he used, the explanation, the justification for being able to hold his weird belief. Was it too sophisticated? I don't think so. Will we ever know for sure? Probably not. Number 5, advantage comports nicely with the fact that most all of us think we are very moral people. How many of you out there listening to this show or over in the chat room go, hey, wait. I'm immoral. I'm an immoral. I'm an amoral guy. We nearly all follow norms of morality. Now, others may not, but we do. There are certain things we don't do. Number 6, and by the way, you just look at the talks we have done the last 2 nights on the Holocaust. You get an idea of that. 6, the norm violation. That view allows us to say that the weirdness of a belief, unlike its falseness, is graded. The weirdness of it, not the quality of its rightness or wrongness. And some beliefs are very weird. The guy who believed that bacteria absorbing into your skin, you can stop eating, that's weird. That's very less weird that maybe JFK, President Kennedy, was assassinated by a conspiracy. After all, so was Julius Caesar. And a bunch of senators stab him to death. Finally, my final note on this. Aren't you glad and aren't you grateful that you don't have any weird beliefs? I know I am. I'm glad that none of my beliefs are weird. So there you go. You got any weird beliefs, folks? Do you know people with weird beliefs? Now, maybe, hopefully, this gives you a bit of an understanding of why we hold and carry, possess these weird beliefs, at least on a psychological level. And, look at that. We've got like less than a minute before we have to go out from the radio audience. So I do want to throw this in there. All of you listening on radio, if you're just listening audibly, come on over to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. Join the fellow Intrepids over and if you're on Facebook, come and join us on YouTube and join the chat, because we're going to go into a little bit of an after show. We do one every night called The Captain's Cabin. Arr. And so tar up your pigtails and smear some blood on your rapiers and come in. It's time to go dueling and sailing. So to all of you out there who are listening by radio, I just want to say thank you for being here. And you know what? Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Elderberry, good to see you, lad. Nice to have you here on board. So welcome, folks, to the captain's cabin, thusly named by you all. And I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. One of these days, I'm going to build, because you can't buy them anymore unless somebody starts another limited edition. I'm going to build a replica of Captain Kirk's command chair from the Enterprise, from the original series. And I've seen it done. And Adam Savage, I think we talked about this once before. Adam Savage, who was part of Mythbusters, that show. He was a modeler for, I think, for Industrial Light and Magic years and years ago. And makes props and all of that kind of thing. And he's got a YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, go look him up, Adam Savage. And it's a fantastic show he does where he makes all this stuff. And he did one where he made the captain's chair from Star Trek. And he said they got him one of those limited editions that came out. And he said it was just didn't fit the bill for him. Wobbly, and it didn't have all the features he thought it would have. And it just didn't seem right. And so he built his own. And it is marvelous. Spectacular. You got to go watch. Just look up his video on Kirk's command chair, and you'll get the idea of that. Trek Yards probably knows someone. Probably so, Sarah. You probably know somewhere where we can get one. But even when they were brand new, God, when did these come out? 10 years ago, they did a limited run of these things. And they either were $1,700 or they made 1,700 of them, something like that. And they all sold out like in the snap of a finger, gone. Or a couple $1,000 maybe, something. 2,700 sticks in my mind now. The 7 is in there somewhere. Steve Clark says, I've always wanted to walk into a store with just a shirt and shoes on, but no pants, since the sign says no shirt, no shoes, no service. That's a good idea, Steve. Report back into us after you've run that experiment. I saw something about the chat rooms going nude tonight. I don't know what that's all about. I'd go nude, but it's so unpretty a picture. It would be enjoyable for no one, except me, maybe. So, Elderberry says, Steve, it seems time is sped up or we've slowed down. Maybe. And, by the way, when I put up oops, I played the wrong intro. I played the Sunday morning intro. Sunday morning with Scotty and Rennie, not the captain's cabin. So that's why you got both of those tonight. What else has been said in here? Barbie D said, what is this, a no clothes room now? It can be. I'm the only one that's showing up visually. So, all of you could be as naked as jaybirds, and I wouldn't know the difference. Unless you want to get naked and call in. There's that possibility. Who's up for that? Oh, I've got candidates, but I'll keep my mouth shut. And there he is, Dave Potter, naked jaybird. Let me take down the wrong banner that's up here now. Because we're no longer...
We have the wrong banner up?
Yeah, we had the Intrepid.
Oh, there we go. I'm extremely fuzzy today. I just my beard just went.
Yeah. So, what have I got to say? Well, I got the ceiling painted in the office today.
Awesome.
That was about 1.5 gallons of black flat paint. So it needed 2 gallons in the sprayer. Sprayers to me always seem to take more paint than paintbrushes or rollers.
Yeah.
So, but it was slightly finicky, but not bad. And
that's good.
At times, I had it where I'm blowing a whole stream out, and I stop and I move the ladder over. I get back up and it goes. Oh, okay. Well, now what's doing that? And so I took it a couple of times. I had to take it apart and
Did you
clean
pour
it,
your paint through a filter before you put it in the bucket?
No. Was I supposed to?
Did you?
No.
I would never tell my big brother how to paint because he's a painter and like he should know.
That's just you're talking technical stuff though.
I know. The other day when we were coming up the stairs, I was all ready to say, okay, here's what you're going to need to do. And then I thought, oh, I don't fucking need to tell Scotty how to paint. He'll smack me in the head with a hammer or something if I start telling him how to paint.
You're going to need to take this brush and you dip it in the paint. And you know, like I tell my kids how to, when we were painting these walls and they were using brushes to fill the little divots in the walls and stuff. And I said, now when you dip the paintbrush in, I said, don't wipe it on the sides of the bucket or the pan. I said, that's the worst way to do it. I said, yeah, these are rough walls, but that leaves bubbles in your paint. I said, so take your paintbrush, you dip it and you tap it. Tap, 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 tap on the side. And then I said, then I twirl it so it doesn't drip.
Like an ice cream cone.
Like an ice cream cone. What do my kids do? They go, Ellie, shung, 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 whap, 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 whap,
Whap, whap.
paint all over. And she takes it and flips it around. And it's like, no.
The other night when I was looking at her, she had paint all over her knees and her shins.
Yep.
On her calves. How did you get paint behind your legs, behind her knees, all over her thighs? I'm like, what were you just riding the roller? What the hell were you?
It was cute as hell, but
it was. But it was
7-year-old
like,
girl,
and then streaks of paint across her cheeks and her nose. She had that dot on her nose, and I'm like, I have no idea how you painted your face like that, but.
And then she said, what did she say when you said all that? And it's in my hair too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you knew this? So, hey, Matthew Sainsbury's calling in. Let's bring him in. Hey, Matthew, how you doing?
Hello, Matthew.
Hey, good night, Dave. Good night, Scotty.
Good night.
Just having a little sit over here in the veranda a bit because the other night I had some problems with my tooth, so I had a little bit of a headache. So fresh air will help. Yeah, I was listening to you guys talk about the strangeness and some beliefs and so because today is Yom Kippur in the Jewish calendar.
Yes.
And I was watching a service concerning it, and I had make a mention about the scapegoat that the Jews tend to have in Bible times when the temple stood, and how there was one scapegoat that the priest sacrificed on the altar, but there was another one that was a red sash was tied to it, and they were carried out in the wilderness and let it go so it wouldn't bring back anything to the people. But there is some other verse in the I think it was Mishnah or something like that. It says that they take the if the animal comes back, they sometimes would take the scapegoat and throw it over a cliff. Yeah, I just typed in that in like chat, but I
goat came back quick.
Yeah,
over the cliff.
Yeah, because the Jews, they have a way of when they sacrifice animals in ancient times, they'd kill what causing pain, you see? So
you don't want to eat the undead. So if you sacrifice it, it comes back right away. Throw it off a cliff.
Yeah.
They used to put a bell on it too. And if they heard that bell ringing.
Yeah. Because there was also a theory that the high priest, when he goes into the temple once a year, that they actually had to tie bells on him or something, that because they feel that he would die or something, and had to pull him up in time. But
they would tie a rope to his ankle. A ceremonial rope, because if God struck him dead in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant, he's in there all by himself, nobody could go in there because they were struck dead too. So they had to pull him back out. They had a way to. I don't recall any time recorded that was ever used. But there was the dude that was killed because he kept the ark from tumbling over off of an ox cart while they were moving it, and
which is a total
God
bummer.
Struck him dead.
Yeah, because David was bringing it to Jerusalem. He touched it and thought it was going to fall over. Because I saw in National Geographic that they say that back then, 3,000 years ago, electricity was not something that was scientifically known back then. And they want to say that the cloth that was covering the ark would have been rubbing against it, and it may have been caused a powerful electrical discharge when users touched it.
You know what that is to me, though? What
Yeah.
that is to me, that is a weird belief, what we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier. To me, that's somebody trying to justify away the fact that it just might be God who did it. That God was the one who
Yeah.
said, hey, I told you not to touch the ark, zap, you're dead.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if that's all it was? What if it was
Mhm.
God? Is that the weird belief? Or is the weird belief the guy who says, well, now the fabric that was rubbing on it was made of a certain kind of thing, and against gold, that can create friction, and
Yeah.
boom, static. It was like getting a shock when you touch the sofa after walking around in your stocking feet.
One hell of
Yeah.
a shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big shock. Now, could you imagine, though, that guy in the presence of God in the afterlife going, I could have just let it fall to the ground. I could have let it go. There'd have been your ark smashed, cherub
Mhm.
heads falling off, gold scuffed, the tablets inside all
Yeah.
messed up. But I
Yeah.
stopped. I
Stand in
could've
the
let
manna.
it go. I know. I
Yeah.
could, or was he like, oh, God, in all your greatness, you took my life because I kept the ark from being scuffed. Who knows what happened? Who
Yeah.
knows if it's even a true story? It's in the Bible.
knows?
Many people will say,
Mhm.
I believe it's a true story because it's in the Bible. And it just might be because
Yeah.
it's in the
Yeah. Probably
So,
electrical theory might be a
that's my
good thing to
thinking.
think of.
11:11 wish, says Barbie D. It's 10:11 here, so we'd be an hour early on our wish.
I'm glad that you covered too about John F. Kennedy, because there are a lot of theories that Lee Harvey Oswald may not have been a full assassin,
Sure.
that there was somebody hiding in the grassy knoll or so. I heard about that
Yeah.
because Nostradamus
Johnson
had
had him whacked.
What?
yeah, 'cause
What, Uncle Dick?
Nostradamus had Yeah.
VP
Nostradamus
Johnson had
wasn't
him
there.
whacked.
Nostradamus was on the grassy knoll.
Nostradamus wrote an account by saying that the great man would be killed in the middle of the day by lightning, and then he says that they will accuse a person who isn't guilty, but the guilty one is hidden in the misty woods. So people thought that was Nostradamus predicting, JFK's mysterious killing. So it could
Maybe.
be, yeah, because
Maybe.
I know that he was a Catholic, but he was the youngest president at that time when he
Mhm.
took office in 1960. So and also curses can be a very strange thing too, because the situation with him, Henry Harrison, and how he dealt with Shawnee Indians, and so Tecumseh's brother Tank Squatawa, I made a prediction that if Harrison becomes president, he will have a short reign as president. And Harrison, when he became president in 1840 and 1841, he went and gave an inauguration speech. He talked a little longer than usual. And just a month later, exactly on April the 4th, 1841, he was dead from a bad typhoid fever or something like that. And then from his time right down, from Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, all these presidents are elected in year zero. Succumb in office. So it has a very creepy pattern.
Yep.
Curses can be real.
Reagan dodged the bullet, in essence. No pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah.
Because Nancy Reagan, she actually believed in this thing because I think she was into call it psychics and other things like that to investigate it, because she realized it had a track record.
And I know people think that's weird, but I believe that stuff. So
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, no
You're
doubt.
weird. What a weird belief.
Yeah,
Hey, Sarah. Nice to see you.
I
Man,
got
thank you for all that.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you back to the chat room. Have a good night, brother. Thank you
Okay,
for calling
thanks.
in. All right, Sarah, how you doing?
Good. It's been a long day as usual. So
Yeah, you feeling better?
yeah, I'm about 95% there. Still have a little post-nasal drip, but once that's over, I'll be good to go. So
well, that's good.
Damn post-nasal
One of
drip.
these days
I
she's
hate
going to
that.
turn the camera on, and we're both going to be shocked.
Yeah. I hate post-nasal drip, by the way. It makes me cough more than anything else. It just irritates my throat when I get
it's hard
sick.
to lay back and sleep. So I've been
Yeah.
Yep.
propped up with pillows and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's the same thing, just to reiterate what we were talking about earlier about, weird. I mean, weird is a subjective term. And then it's a matter of, perspective of the observer of what is considered weird. If you have you know,
Yeah.
and the way that the human mind, or you know, with logic, you know, we are given certain data sets or stimuli, or we have to understand, you know, causal effect and all that types of things. And there was like a study done with pigeons, that if they trained them to uh, like make a go in a circle 5 times, and then they would feed them, and then, you know, they would make it into like a Pavlovian experiment. So it got to the point where once they stopped feeding them, the pigeon would still go make 5 circles and still expect to be fed. You know, it's
Yeah.
a sort of expectation of causal and effect. It said, okay, if a baby cries, someone's going to come get me, right? Or someone's going to attend to my needs and all that. So when it comes to, you know, formation of beliefs and all that, it's like, you know, it's like you're trying to like take the number 7. If you're 1 plus 1, not 1 plus 1. 1 plus 6 equals 7, you know, one set of beliefs. And then you have 3 plus 4 equals 7. You know, 7 plus 0 equals 7.
Right.
The multiple ways to, huh?
They can't all equal 7. That's
Right.
great talk.
3.5 and 3.5 equals 7, Uncle Dave.
3.5 times 2 is equals 7.
Oh, see, now that one just
Blows
throws
your mind,
everybody
right? So, I mean, with it, when it comes to beliefs that are quote unquote weird, it's like something that is outside of your usual mental constructs and your formula, outside of your formula in a way. That, you know, it's something that's completely foreign. And I mean, nowadays, you know, I see stuff and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, it's nothing really phases you anymore, because if you can't make any clear connection or reference to that, then, you know, people just ignore it. You know,
yeah.
As far as where they try to form an extraneous connection, and there was this one psychological experiment where a guy had a particular condition where his left brain and right brain were not, you know, speaking to each other. Like there was a barrier.
I have that happen a lot.
Like my wife and I. My wife and I have that all the time.
Yeah, he was shown like a picture of a house on with one eye, and in the other eye he was shown a picture of a shovel, and he was and with the other eye he saw a picture of a shovel, and and then he was asked, what is this, what's the connection between these two objects? Yeah, and then he told the examiner, well, it's to shovel the chicken shit. And it was like, where's chickens coming from? You know, that sort of outside belief. Because if you see a house and a snow shovel, you would say it's to, you know, plow the snow. So I mean, as far as, you know, being considered weird beliefs, I mean, we are grown with a certain set of standards and norms, and, you know, that we call, you know, morality, or ideas that, you know,
I think of an experiment.
Just did the math, and 3.5 and 3.5 did not make 7. Make 6.10.
What math are you going by?
2 3s, 6, 2 dot, or 1 dot times 2 dot, and 5, 2's 10. So 6.10.
Nice. That's a very nice answer, young Mr. Potter. You go back to your seat now.
Right. And that's typically the reaction people get when they get something weird.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, you know, these formation of, you know, ideas and stuff that comes from culture. So some people in my culture, we believe that, you know, the body has to be in the ground within 24 hours. So, and then
same in Jewish culture.
Right. And then
Why is that?
visited.
Where does that stem from?
I'm not completely sure, but I mean, it all has to do with, you know, eventually it's like you're releasing your body back to God, I guess, or whatever whatever you call it. That you
See,
know,
in the Christian belief of the 3-day thing, it's because it was the third day that Christ,
resurrection, right? 3
the
days.
resurrection happened.
Yeah.
And there's this concept it takes 3 days for the soul to get out of the body.
Yeah.
And so the question is then, are you trapping souls? Maybe that's where jinn come from. Maybe all these people like.
Well, I mean, we're all supposed to be in preparation for the day of judgment when everybody's supposed to come back. So, you know, that sort of thing. I'll have to look more into that, and I'll give you an answer.
It's going to be a crowded subway that day. I'm just saying.
Now I missed my train of thought. But
sorry, I'm good at that.
Choo choo. Yeah.
See, now there is something to this though. When you think about it, a traditional Jewish funeral has to occur within 24 hours of the time of death. That's legit. It's what God wants us to do. It's respect to the deceased and so on. However, many modern funeral services will happen later, so friends and family can come, and there's a dance. And
I mean, yeah, it's a matter of what's available. I mean, if the body's
no
being
public
held at
viewing
the
of the body.
hospital, or if they're going to.
But isn't that the concept of the? Is it shul?
Sheol.
Where so like
Abraham's bosom.
For days afterwards, that you are getting together to take care of the departed. I mean,
oh! I thought you meant Sheol, like
body washing and all that.
The limbo type of place. The after.
No, what's the event called right after the Irish have a wake, but Jewish people have it's like a 3 or 4 day event that takes place.
I can't remember what it's called. I know we had a candle that we burned for my grandfather when we left the cemetery, and we lit the candle at home and let it burn till it burned out.
And people bring tons of food and to the family and all that kind of stuff. And
funeral potatoes.
When Marty passed, and I think I've told this before, but Marty did not like
the Shiva.
That's it. Marty did not like salmon. To him, it was smelly orange fish, and we did not have it in the house. And I, on the other hand, love lox and smoked salmon and all kinds of things like that. And so I ate salmon all the time. Marty passes. His brother flies in from out of town, and we couldn't help but laugh at the huge amount of salmon that people from the temple brought to Marty's house. Poached salmon, steamed salmon.
We got lox and bagels.
All these different things. And I said to Joel, I said, every Jewel is supposed to eat so much salmon in their lifetime. And if you don't, their survivors have to eat what they didn't do. So I said, that's our lot in life now. We have to eat all this salmon because Marty wouldn't eat it.
Right.
Marty.
Right. But I remembered my point now that about the 24-hour thing, because I went in and I visited the Vatican, and they had these bodies of saints out, to show how they didn't the miracle of how they didn't degrade and decompose and all that. And to me that was weird, because it was like you're used to seeing not being displayed out or anything like that, because I would be in the ground, it's whatever happens between you and God. And considering it's the Vatican, that's supposed to be
one would think
a place of power, God central or whatever, to those who believe in that system. But I mean, their system is very different from mine, so it's also a cultural thing. So
yeah. So Michelle Canham Free, are you gonna call in or what?
Yeah, I could use another girl in here.
I'll post that link for you again. Oops, that's not it. My keyboard's doing funny things. Or my hands have started doing funny things.
What link did you hit the? Oh, don't go to that tonight.
It's like, yeah. Oh, wait. Unsend. That reminds me of some commercial. It was for computers, and I don't know what it was. Because I had a bunch of people, young people, sitting in an office. They're all office workers, and they're all it picks up mid-scene, and they're all sitting around a computer, and they're going, yeah, and he's not just our boss, he's a evil cretin, smelly. He's smelly too. Write that in. They're all adding these things. And and who do you think you are that you can tell us to do that? You smelly, blah, 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 blah. There they go, there. And the guy goes, and he goes, they go, you didn't send that, did you? And he goes, where's the unsend? Where's the unsend? It just reminded me of that. So you can't unsend the message. But there are times where, is it Gmail that does that? I send a Gmail, and it goes, are you sure you want to send this message? Yes, I'm sure. Click. All right, I'm going to send it now. You got like 9 seconds. 8, 7, 6. I'm going to send. 5. Okay. So have fun storming the castle. So, let's see. What does Michelle Cannon-Free say?
She's saying her son would.
What if my son wasn't shrieking loud enough to wake the dead? Let the interred rest. When I
Can't
walk,
be
I
any
can
worse
hear
than
him.
the twins arguing over at Scotty's house. We should be fine. You go ahead and call in.
It's not twins. It's you
Twins.
can call in. We're okay with the yelling, Michelle. But of course, if that's just your excuse, that you're using to not join us, I get it. Okay. Yep, get it.
You're guilty.
My kids, you see my. Oh, trust me, she says it is. Okay. I understand. We're just teasing you a bit. Can't come on. You can't come on. I get it. There's times I had to get up last night and quit the captain's cabin about this time last night because there was a big question, something going on with the kids, and I got to go, guys.
Are we going to build you an enterprise command chair for the new studio?
We most certainly are. I have to collect up the dough to buy the materials for that, but you watch Adam Savage's step-by-step thing, and it's not done like an instruction manual. It's just he did it. It's like an hour-and-a-half video of his or something where he's got it all clipped up and he shows how they did it, and it's really cool and it's really good.
I'm all for it.
Let's do it.
So the new studio is going to be Star Trek-ish, or are you
No.
still doing?
No.
Or is it supposed to be more captain's cabiny?
It's going to be.
Well, see, that's the direction I wanted to go. Scott's got a different thing. We're still working on what the mural's actually going to be.
Dave wants to do a mural. Rainey just wants us to get it done. She's like, I don't care what you paint. Just get it done.
She doesn't get a vote.
Okay.
She doesn't get a vote in this.
Yeah.
She gets a vote in her bedroom. She gets a vote in her bedroom.
Yeah, she get. Wait, where's the unsend? You don't get a vote in this.
Maybe you're gonna make it like a movie studio since you have the ceiling of black and putting the track lighting and all that.
I don't know if I was gonna go with a particular theme. If I was gonna do like Star Trek, it would have to be very complicated.
Yeah,
because I'd want it to look right and want it to look real. I'd probably want to use, even though I love the old series, I would probably use the look of Captain Pike's bridge. That's what I want to build one of those, Dave. We can broadcast from there.
We could do the bridge behind, have her station behind you and the whole bit.
Yeah, we could do that.
Drop a pair of red doors in the corner so it looks like the lift.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, you got to consider most of your stuff is Renaissance and books.
It is.
Let's do a steampunk enterprise.
That could be interesting.
He's like, that look at his face is like, that's not happening.
I love steampunk.
I do too.
Well, I would just say, consider the resale value and how long you're going to be staying in that house. And how much energy
we need to make it so it all comes with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing beautiful scenery work and then leaving it behind for somebody else to enjoy.
It's got to be removable. If I'm going to build sets, it's going to have to be something I could put into the house we build. You know, unless God forbid, not forbid, God
We
willing,
should
whatever.
build,
Willing.
What if we stay here? What if we buy this place? So
we should convince Rainey that the new house has to have a turret, and in the basement, that turret can be your studio. You'll have a round studio. We can build the bridge of the Enterprise in there.
well, it's a big turret. Well, no, not really, because what was the bridge? Maybe 20 feet across, the
Yeah.
original set. That makes a nice room. I've said if I wasn't building a shipping container home, I'd like to build a castle.
You know,
How
I've
about
been
that,
seeing
Sarah?
a lot of real estate in in Scotland about, you know, castles being up for sale and all that.
Yeah.
They're
Move
pretty
to Scotland,
reasonable.
bro.
I mean, if
There's some great old
you
castles
just
for
have to
sale.
convince her to move to Scotland.
Yeah. Actually had some friends
I
in
can
the
hear her now.
paranormal world that
It's going to be
that
so
were-
far away from my mom. We'll just have to build a cottage for her mom.
That's right.
Mother-in-law's
Shipping
sweet.
container home. Shipping container home out back. No, friends in the paranormal. Raven Quinn, if any of you know who she is, singer.
Raven. Yep.
Songwriter. And her husband Rob, and he's big in entertainment, behind the scenes kind of stuff. But he was saying we had this is about 10 years ago. We had to buy this castle. And he showed this castle, make it a paranormal thing, retreat. But they only wanted like, and I say only, but he was like, let's all pitch in and buy this. It was like $1.5 million. So,
that's
now would be the time to buy a castle in England, because what the pound,
Bottom fell out of-
the pound is like worth less than the dollar now.
Yeah.
You could buy it was 0.97 cents, or the pound is 0.97 to the American dollar right now. Used to be for years. Since the last time I was there, 15 years ago, was like a pound or a dollar would take about $1.70 to buy a pound. Now you can buy a pound for 97 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Might be lower than that now. I'm just
Sooner or
curious.
later, they might put up the Tower of London. You have to grab that up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'd love the Tower of London. Scotty wants to build a reproduction of the globe. I want to build a reproduction of the White Tower. That's my thing.
Is that the one with,
Well,
with the twins buried at the inside? or-
Oh my God.
Theoretically,
Right
the
now?
young princes were murdered there.
Yeah.
Right now, the US dollar, $1, the pound sterling is 0.88.
Wow.
So that's quite a difference.
Yeah.
Even in a week since I heard it, that's another 9 cents down. So you get $1 US, £1 sterling to the US dollar, 0.88 of a pound. Or is that going up then? If $1 gets you 0.88 of a pound,
No, then the dollar's weaker.
yeah, the dollar's weaker. Now it's starting to
Yeah.
go back up then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's like in India, $1 is like 500 rupees. So I mean that would be, it's difference in terms of cost of living.
So Michelle Cannon-Free, are you going to call in, or is that your final answer? No? Are you not going to call in? You can't do it? So you can call in if you want.
I
If
need
the
some
screening-
help over here.
Sarah needs help. She needs a little aid. Oh, we might have.
Who else hasn't called in for? Where's Amanda? I don't even see Amanda on
I
tonight.
haven't seen Amanda in a couple of days.
She was on yesterday, I think.
Oh, was she? Sometimes
the day
I
before.
talk so much I don't
Yeah.
see the chat room. So
But yeah, so
Barbie D is here. Barbie D, have you called in?
yeah, we
Ever?
have people call in with their weird stories. I was talking about
Yeah, weird stories.
like
Although we've got 25 minutes left. I don't want to stay up past 11 tonight. I'm just getting old or something. I just
You
can't.
just hang up
do
the
late-
radio and just fall asleep right there in the chair.
I did this today. I was sitting here, I was taking a break because my arm hurt. You're standing like this with the sprayer, and when you fill that thing full of paint, it's not like an industrial where it's pulling out of the tub on the ground. It's all right here.
Oh, I see.
I sprayed for about 20 minutes, and I was going, and then I'd reach over, and my hand would go, and so I'm like, I got to take a break. My arm's getting rubbery. And so I came over here and I sat down. I'm looking at something. I just gone.
I had a funeral today. Came back from the funeral, and I got up super early. Planned to get up at 7, but my brain woke me up at 5:30. And so then we got back from the funeral. I laid down and thought I'm just going to take a short nap, and woke up at 4.
Oh,
yeah.
That's like the time. Not exactly like, but it's like the time. This is way back, Dave. This is before you and I knew each other. This was in my, or was it? Yeah, because it was
The way back when days.
This was when I was divorced before from Suzanne, my first wife. And in case none of you know, and you're not making sense of this, I've been married. This is my 3rd marriage. So I was married right out of college to my college sweetheart. And we were divorced 6 years later. And she just came home one day, wanted a divorce. Then I met Annette a year later. We got married for 12 years, got a divorce. And then I met Rainey. So putting that in context. So it was 1988 was the summer that I was divorced. August of 1988. And I got an apartment way out in West Bloomington, Dave, for those of you who live up here. A big town home. And
I'm visualizing it.
And I'm visualizing. And I had a roommate, my leasing agent friend there at that place. He became my roommate. And we're still friends today, Guy Sasso. And but we were typical guys in our mid to late 20s, always looking for chicks. I can't snap my fingers right now. My hands are so, that's what we did. No offense, Sarah. We were all about chicks.
It was a misogynistic
Snap my fingers. And so there was the aerobics director of the place where I lived. They had a big gym and a big pool and all that, and they had
lots of spandex.
Lots of spandex. We're talking 1988, 89.
Oh yeah,
big hair,
hot pink and turquoise spandex.
It's Jane Fonda days, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Leggings,
the thigh master, all of that stuff.
So the very hot blonde aerobics instructor. She came over. I was lifting weights in the gym, and she was teaching a class over there, and I'm doing a bench press. And she comes over and she goes, so. She goes, and she's leaning on the end of the board. And she had I'm just telling this for effect. It's like watching a movie. She had one of those. It was like a tube top or a tank top, but it had a zipper. And she had the zipper and she was quite Rainey-esque. And
so not a neck.
So she's sitting like this at the end, and that zipper is lower than it was when I walked in. Believe me, I noticed. And she goes, so, when are you going to take me on a date? And I said, how's tomorrow? And she goes, that sounds good. And she said, and you mentioned that one breakfast place. Now, this is all building up to the story, guys. And she goes, you mentioned that one breakfast place in Dinkytown over the University of Minnesota. Somebody's breakfast, Al's Breakfast. She said, you mentioned that was a good place. You want to take me there? I said, you want to go on a date for breakfast? She goes, well, I want to go on a date tomorrow night, but maybe we could have an all-night date. I've never had anybody do that to me before. And I was like, this is like out of a movie. I am the luckiest kid in America. And I said, well, yeah, we could do that. I like that. So tomorrow comes, and in the afternoon, I went over to visit my aunt, my now late aunt, and she had cracked open a bottle of cognac. And she said, "You want some cognac?" And I go, "I got to drive home from here. I got a big date tonight." She said, "Well, come on, have a shot of cognac.
Have a bottle.
So, a bottle." Well, there's the upshot of the story. It was a bottle. By the time we were done drinking cognac, I'm like, "Oh my God, I just drank a whole bottle of cognac with you." And I said, "I gotta go." And we were both impaired, so there was nobody with judgment to stop me. So I hopped in the car. And I'm driving, and I've got tunnel vision. I'm just looking like this. I'm like, and it's snowing outside. And I'm like, hands at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And I made it home. Well, my aunt was only 10 minutes from where I lived anyway. Made it home. And it's about 40 minutes before the date is supposed to start. I'm supposed to go walk over to Tammy's because she lived in the same townhome complex. Not Tammy. Yeah, Tammy. And I remember what I was wearing. Now you tell me this isn't 80s. I had on a leather bomber jacket. I don't remember, and a shirt of some kind, but I had blue jeans and high top red tennis shoes. And so I walk into the house and I'm still hammered. And I start to go, I had upstairs and I had a wooden staircase with on the landing on the bottom. It was 2 steps up. You hit the lower landing and there was the big wooden globe on the landing staircase. And I grabbed that.
The newel post.
I grabbed that and I went, my hands just slid on it and I fell backwards onto the floor. I'm so hammered. And I lay there like this. I put my hands up like this and I'm laughing and I'm going, "Oh my God, I got a date with a hot aerobics instructor in a half an hour. Get up and go shower." And so I'm laying there and I open my eyes to get up and shower and it's 6:45 in the morning. I had missed the date.
But not the breakfast. I'd have called her.
I would have. I tried. Trust me. But she didn't come knock on my door or anything. But that's back before we had cell phones, 1988. And so I had an answering machine. And she called twice. And she said, "It's 7:15. I'm ready." Then she calls again at about 7:45. She goes, "It's 7:45. Still planning on coming?" That's the last I heard. She didn't call back. So you were talking about sleeping through something. That's what that whole long story was about. I got a little hammered and I slept through probably what would have been the coolest date of my life up to my 27 years of age at that time.
Oh, I know you'd have married Tammy. That would have. That's.
Oh man,
Probably.
probably.
I know you. You would have if you'd have gone through with that date. You'd be like. Then we got married. Like 6 days.
And then we
later.
got married. So yeah, that was. I know, a crazy story. Maybe a little. We're in the presence of a woman, and
Your aunt saved you.
Sarah, I got to be.
I'm just shaking my head. I mean,
You're just shaking your. Okay, good. At least you're
Yeah.
not shaking your head at me. You're about me. About me.
right. I mean,
Not my story.
in the end, it ended up being for the best. So
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
for both of you.
Because I could have been married to Tammy. Come on, Scotty. Let's exercise tonight. So
Have you doing those bands and stuff for your arm?
oh my God. Yeah, my arms wouldn't be rubbery tonight. So anyway,
Is this the same?
that's all that was about. It was
Yeah. Is this the same Tammy that you said ended up
Different
becoming an
Tammy.
attachment? Okay.
I was
Different
going to
Tammy
say
than
that at
Haunted
the beginning.
Him.
Yeah.
It's a different Tammy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So coincidentally. So,
I dated a whole series of Anns before I started
Oh.
into the Amy's.
yeah.
Anne, A-N-N, A-N-N-E, A-N, Anna. There was an
Good night,
Anna.
Matthew.
And it's crazy. And then I went through Amy's too. That were all spelled differently. It's
How
like
many Amy's have you had, Dave?
3.
Well, I've had 16 Amy's, and they was all no. I did that once. I looked at that and I went, let's see. I was married to Suzanne. Then there
Had
was.
some Sues.
Then I dated
Sue,
Jane Ann.
Susie, and Susan.
I dated Jane Ann, and then there was an Annette, my ex-wife. Then there was a couple of others, and it was like, oh my god! And then I found out they were all Tauruses.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell with that?
They were all batshit crazy.
And then there was Lindsay, totally different. So
Johnny Carson went through the same thing with his wives too, because he was like Joanne, Joanna,
Oh, sure.
all that stuff.
Sure.
So I mean,
Well, you don't have to change all the towels.
towels, yeah, that's what he said. Monogram towels, you know.
I gotta find me a woman with the same initials. So
And who could fold them right?
yes. Oh, that's
Only
a
one
must.
Tasha, though.
Only one Tasha. That's
There
right.
will always only be one
Did
Tasha.
she know how to find towels or fold towels?
No. But she took my career and moved to Hollywood and is doing quite well.
Yeah, I see her stuff on Facebook every now and then. She massaged me once. She was doing massage for a while.
Yes.
Wait, was that Tasha?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Tasha.
She went
That
to
was
school
just
and
a long time ago.
got certified in that to make extra money.
I got one massage out of her. Boy, that sounded wrong. That's not how I meant that. I got one massage from her. We never dated, so.
Well, I mean, speaking of weird, you've talked about it earlier before Flynn went to the Ren Fair and all that. How did you get started with this whole tarot journey?
Oh, my tarot.
Yeah, your
Tarot.
tarot.
You know, I was just my aunt, the aunt I've talked about before, the one that came to me in the dream and the witch and so on. She was a
The
witch.
one that got you crocked on a bottle of cognac.
The one that got me, that
one
lost
that got
me
you
my
drunk.
date. It wasn't me drinking; it was her feeding it to me. I told her the next day. By the way, I said,
Is she Jane's sister?
"Yeah,
Oh, that makes
my
so
mom's
much
sister."
sense. That makes so much sense.
And she died in 95. She had something went wrong really quickly. She actually, I'll get to your story here, Sarah, but
Was she hot like your mom?
she was a little redhead and skinny.
See,
So-
what did I say about redheads? They'll be the death of me.
There you go. She was like 5 foot, all of 5'1" or 2", and slender and lean muscles, and she was a hippie. She was a flower child in the 70s, the early 70s, and she had hair, long red hair, all the way down to her butt. She'd play guitar. She'd play at the Uptown Cafe with bands, and very good. And well, anyway, all that to say, she passed away. She had what we didn't know about her. She was also a closet meth user, and we knew that she had alcohol issues, but she was a funny alcoholic, you know. And
Alcohol
when she'd
issues.
get drunk, her
Call the
Yiddish
nephew
would
over and
come
let's
out.
crack a bottle of cognac and drain it
I
today.
wonder what your
Yeah.
mother thought when she eventually found out about this. I mean, I'm sure she found out about this story sooner or later, but
Well, I'm going to call Jane and tell her.
Oh, my mom? Yeah, you call Jane and tell her. So, it was Andy, my aunt. She would always have stories about the ghosts in her house and would freak the shit out of me. When I was in probably middle school, 7th, 8th, or 9th grade, 7th grade, she had an upstairs duplex in the Uptown area. Dave, do you remember the old Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips in Uptown?
Yeah.
I think the library is there now, But there was an old Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips in Uptown at Hennepin and Lake. And if you went down, it was 1 block off of Lake Street on Hennepin. And if you turned toward Lake of the Isles, which would be west from Arthur Treacher's, she was in those long apartment buildings, those old brick apartment buildings with all the courtyards in between them. Well, she lived there in Uptown, and she would always tell us stories about the ghosts. And she said, I call them Stu and Brian. And she would talk about how there was a door that went from the kitchen to the hallway where all the bedrooms and the bathroom were, but then you could just walk through the wooden archway into the dining room and go into the hallway too. So it was always open. But sometimes that door would get closed, and they locked that door because they didn't want that door being used. And once they locked it, it would it'd shake in the middle of the night. Somebody trying to, who locked the fucking door? A ghost. But she would tell us these stories and how she had a sitter there. And Barbie D is just funny. She needs no alcohol, she says, by the way. I try. But babysitter came and watched my cousin, her son, and said they were sitting in the living room in that apartment in the middle of the day in the summer, and books were flying off the shelf, and she was sitting holding my cousin, and my cousin's seen it all before. He was like a 4-year-old kid, and he's like, cool, it's Stu and Brian again. She's like, no. And so the babysitter abandoned my aunt after that. But this is my aunt. And she said she was a witch. As she would always put it, she says, I'm not a good witch. I'm not a bad witch. I'm a sandwich. My aunt was, if she'd been rich, she'd have been eccentric. My aunt was a little crazy, but crazy in a good way. A redhead. So she was a good crazy. She was a funny crazy, a funny person. But she got me into, she would read my cards every now and then. She'd do the Ouija board. And she'd be the Ouija board person who would, take a piece of cardboard and write all the letters and the numbers and then take a shot glass. That should have been my first cue. A shot glass for a shot glass for a planchette. A planchette. And she'd do that. So she got me into it, not actively like teaching me. I said, I want to go pick up one of those sets of cards. I just want to see what it does. Now, remember at the time, let's see, I was in seminary from 80 to 80, early 83, I think. And I ended up moving out of state. But when I came back, it was about 85, 86 when I first started the tarot. And it was after Suzanne and I were not divorced. So I picture it. I have my memories are visuals. I remember the room I was in. It was in the basement. It was a lot like this that we had painted up for a studio. But that's when I started doing readings. And I had a friend over. He was actually, funny as this seems, I was the youth pastor at our Baptist church. And here I am reading tarot. And let's see, in 86, well, the time this would have been maybe 85, I would have been 24 years old in the summer of that year. So I was 24, a youth pastor, and some of the kids in the youth group were 17, 18. And a friend, Andy.
Corrupting young souls.
Yeah. He was 18, I was 24. We'd hang out a little bit. And as a matter of fact, I just married them last summer. He was divorced years ago. He just got remarried and he asked me to marry them. And that was just last summer. But I sat and I did my very first tarot card reading ever was for Andy. And I had a Rider-Waite set of the tarot, which is your traditional old tarot set.
That's the set I have. Yeah.
There you go. And so I took it out of the box, and I had never used it before. And I said, he says, you want to do a reading for me? I said, I don't know how they work yet. I said, but let's give it a try. I'll just go by the book. and I laid out a Celtic cross, the 10 card spread, which I still
Well,
do.
that's
I
ambitious.
just did the other day for somebody. And
That's how I learned too, is with the cross.
Celtic cross. And I had the book. And so I shuffled it 3 times. And I said, okay, Andy, this is for you. This is this card, this and this and this. And then I went through and I read them all. Andy was crying by the time we were done. He said, that is so on the mark, and things that I'm going through and stuff. He says, how did you know that stuff? I said, I don't know that stuff. Which told me, I did kind of one of those Indiana Jones and Marion after the Ark wreaks havoc on all the Nazis, and they see their ropes are burned off and all the Nazis are dead, and they have that scene where they look back at the Ark and there's the music. I kind of felt that with my cards. It was kind of like, what are you really? And
So you felt an energy off of it.
What's that?
You felt an energy off of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so they were just sitting right here. I was just going to grab them and hold them up. But so I started doing readings, not on a regular basis, but started doing readings. And I got to tell you, I am not blowing sunshine up my own kilt here, but in all the years I have read,
illuminating,
I can barely remember a time when I felt that the cards were not accurate, other than times where I've had people say, I don't get that at all. And then they call me back.
Yeah, I was going to say, except they'll end up calling you back. Yeah.
You know that thing?
Yeah.
It happened. I had a good friend of mine who's a skeptic. I've known him for 30 years. I call him Reverend Jim in the Church of Skeptic. And why would you say that? I said, because skepticism is your surrogate for religion. It's become your religion. And so anyway, he wanted me to do a reading for him. This was a long time ago. Back when Rainey and I were still living in St. Paul, Dave. So this was way back. And 15 years ago, maybe. So I did a reading for him, and he didn't want to do it in person. He wanted me to type it all out, I'm sure, so he could pick it apart with his skeptical thing. And so I did this whole reading for him, and I typed it all out for him, and I sent it to him. He said, okay, I need a couple of days to pick this apart. So he took a couple of days, and he wrote back to me, and he says, well, this and this, but this, this isn't, that's not me. And then I said, well, that is you if you think about it because of this. I said, I didn't know that about you, but now I do. And, and I found that everything he did, he only got the reading to find a way to dismantle it and prove that it's fake. That's not real. And I think what he learned was the fact that it was real. But he couldn't admit that. And he's still a skeptic today. But that's okay.
Did he say that you were doing a cold reading on him? Or
no, because I didn't ask him any questions. He said, well, you know me too well. I had known him at that point when I did that reading, probably trying to think.
All the more likely for it to be real.
10 years, maybe. I'd known him at that point. That was probably 15, 20 years ago. I've known him almost 30 years. Somewhere in there. And,
we should. Go ahead.
Nothing more.
We should. I just think this would be really funny, especially in a rental property. Peel back the carpeting in a room and paint a Ouija board. Paint a Ouija board and then lay the carpet back down.
And put a pentagram
for them to find down the road.
Pentagram.
There was a guy just recently. I was looking on the internet, and they bought this house. They took the carpet out, and there was this huge pentagram and sigils painted on the floor, and wax stains from where candles had burned down and stuff. Yep. And they were all freaked out. And I said, actually, you're probably fairly safe there. That was probably the ritual room, and so it's. Not by the looks of it,
Yeah.
they're Wiccan. They're not Satanists, so they weren't calling up the devil. They were holding circles, which
There you go.
that's like moving into a church.
Either
You
that
know.
or you paint red rum over.
There you go.
Yeah.
on the wall and
Red
cover
rum.
it with wallpaper. So
Chalk
whoever
line
takes
a
it-
body and then lay the carpet over it. Put a big stain on the hardwood floors.
Tony doesn't live here anymore, Mrs. Roberts.
So anyway, it's 11 o'clock and it's that time. Sorry, I didn't see much of what you were talking about in the chat room, folks. I see Roger Rabbit talking about mini golf and magic branches and things like that.
Well, if people want to talk, they have to come in.
You
Yeah.
got to come in.
Yeah. The water's fine. Don't be afraid.
It is. We
We
don't,
bite much.
hard.
You know what we should do? We should do a large Ouija board on the floor in the family room in the basement where you're at now, and we could put like a bucket or something down there.
Make it
for
like a
sigil.
twister game.
Yeah.
Right
Get a
hand
room
to
bubble
hand.
without batteries, so that if it moves, it's moving because of the spirits.
There you go. There you go. Dave, that's a wonderful idea.
The kids will love it.
Rainey won't even let me do spirit box in the house. So
I mean, it's
See,
the
now
same
that I
thing,
would
you're
go the
open.
other direction. I would insist on doing a spirit box
I
before
would
we
too.
agreed to buy the place.
I would. If we end up not buying the place, then we'll do a Ouija board and just leave it open.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cruel. That's bad. Anyway, let's get out of here. I'm tired. I haven't seen my wife since she took the kids to Scouts. She's home. But
I'll see you
I haven't
tomorrow.
seen her.
All right, take
I'll
care,
see you
guys.
tomorrow too. That's right. What time you want to come over?
It'll be after. I have a 12 o'clock appointment with the clinic, and then when that's done,
Okay.
I'll head over.
Sarah, you can come too. I'll put a paint roller in your hand.
Sure.
Not to the clinic appointment, though.
Not to the clinic.
I'm fine with painting. So I can only do stick figures though, but and not even that half the time.
Well, this one's easy. This is easy because it's going to look like that behind me.
Yeah, I somehow I feel like it's one of those Huckleberry Finn scenarios.
Yes.
Speaking
That's-
of Huckleberry,
Thank you, Barbie D.
the phrase that you always quote from Doc
Doc
Holliday.
Holiday.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
I'll be your Hucklebearer.
Yeah. I'll be
Is
a
what it is.
Huckleberry. Because the handles on the old coffins are called Huckles.
Huckles. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be your Huckleberry. That's what he actually said.
Yeah. I thought he said
I'll carry your
Huckleberry too,
coffin.
and it's Hucklebearer. And I went back and listened to him, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what he's saying.
Bearer.
It's context. It's context.
Yep.
So
A lot of I just stumbled onto that definition the other day, and I went, oh my god,
Yeah.
makes
I
so
saw
much
that
sense.
not long ago myself. So
I'm like, Huckleberry never made any sense to me. What the hell is he talking about?
you know who did an equally as good performance of Doc Holliday was Dennis Quaid.
Yes,
In,
also
yeah,
an
he was
excellent.
good.
Who was it? Kevin Costner's Wyatt
Listeners,
Earp.
yeah,
And he had some great lines.
yeah.
He was like, tuberculosis ridden, so we're talking like this and everything. And he says, Georgia was a green and lovely place, but I fear I shall never see her again. He says, there was a man there that once so offended my sensibilities that I sought to take his life, but better judgment o'ertook me. So great lines from Dennis Quaid as Doc Holliday. And on that note, we're going to get out of here. Sarah, thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care and
See
stay
you later.
safe.
Talk to
Bye.
you later, Sarah.
Uncle Dave,
All right,
I see you tomorrow,
all right,
and we'll do our thing.
all right. I'm out.
If you happen to go by the, Uncle Dave, if you're still there, if you happen to go by the Paint Reclamation Center, see if you can find flat black. Otherwise, we'll find some somewhere. That's all. That's all. All right, folks, time to go. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the fact that you would give me your time and take it to be here. 2 hours a night. How did that happen? So, thanks, and live long and prosper.